to be here today to give my State of District address, letting the Korean American community know what I've done in the past year, and I look forward to working with the Korean American community in 2023.
지난 그 피로구 시의원에 이어서 샌드라황 시의원께서 그동안 정말 한국 사회를 위해서 특히 우리 얼마 전에는 또 189 중학교에 터키도 또 도네이션 해주시고 또 무슨 일 있을 때마다 꼭 오시고 또 우리 교회 각 교회 같은 데서 바자할 때도 오시고 정말 누구보다도 정말 아주 친밀하게 그래 우리가 무슨 일을 하는지 잘 그렇게 돌봐 주시고 또 하나는 김지선 한국 보좌관이 계시다는 거가 굉장히 중요하거든요. 그래서 무슨 어려운 일이 있을 때 한국말로 우리가 필요한 사항을 얘기할 수 있고 그래서 너무 좋고 그래서 우리가 응원하는 마음으로 오늘은 신년 인사지만 조금 일찍이 12월 달에 하는데 스테이 어드레스 그래서 응원하러 왔습니다. 샌드라황 의원님 우리의 편이고 또 우리를 항상 위해서 일하시는데 축하드립니다. 계속해서 오랫동안 우리를 위해 이 플러싱을 위해 일해 주시기 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
샌드라황 시의원님의 그 연설을 들으러 왔었는데요. 정말 많은 일을 하셨네요. 제가 그 슬라이드를 보시면서 하나씩 설명을 해주시는 거 보니까 저희는 이제 YWC이다 보니까 저희 단체와 관련된 것에 주로 많이 관심이 있었는데 시의원으로서 전체적으로 이제 봐야 되는 일들이 많은 거구나라는 것을 새삼스럽게 또 발견을 하게 되고 또 열심히 서로 도와야겠다는 생각이 들었습니다. 그렇지만 at the same time 또 저희는 저희인지라 조금 더 많은 신경을 좀 저희 단체나 또 커뮤니티에 신경을 써주셨으면 참 좋겠다는 생각이 들고 버젯상으로도 조금만 더 싸워주셔서 우리 퀸즈에 좀 더 많은 버젯이 올 수 있도록 했으면 참 좋겠다는 생각이 들었습니다. 정말로 감사합니다.
Good afternoon. 大家好, 안녕하세요. My name is Sandra Ong. I have the distinct honor of representing this community in the City Council. I'm going to tell you all, this is going to be slightly long, so I suggest everybody, there's a PowerPoint presentation to follow along. I want to first thank Glow Community Center for hosting today's event, as well as the Youth Orchestra, the New York Korean Traditional Marching Band, and the New York Gucci Center for their beautiful performances. These artists are evidence that Flushing is quickly becoming one of the art and cultural centers of New York. It's been a busy first year in office, one that has not been without its challenges. The first challenge came the day after I was sworn in, and that was reopening a district office that was closed for nearly 2 years due to the pandemic. Physically reopening the office was important to me, and I know that our district, which is majority immigrant, has a large senior population. They needed a place to go and seek assistance. That's why we were open on day one. Since we returned to a full-time, in-person schedule, we have heard from literally thousands of you who have come to us with your issues and concerns. And while I can't promise we will solve them all, I know we have been able to help the many people who have called or walked into the office with everything from lifeline applications to property tax exemptions for seniors. I've also been focused on bringing services and resources to the people of District 20. I have allocated funding to provide pro bono legal services in my district office, including attorneys from Community Resist, Queens Legal Services, CUNY Law School, and the CUNY Citizenship Now program. My co-host for an immigration assistance event on Friday at Flushing YMCA. I have a lawyer in my office nearly every day of the week providing different kinds of services, and I encourage all of you to reach out if you have any questions. Supporting small businesses was always one of my top campaign priorities. That's why I'm proud that in partnership with Queens Chamber of Commerce, twice a month, a specialist from the Small Business Resource Network meets one-on-one with the local business owners and advises them on everything from acquiring financing to growing their online presence. One issue many entrepreneurs bring to me is dealing with fines. Representatives from the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings visit my office on a regular basis to help residents and business owners settle or contest a city summons. In an immigrant community like ours, where people too often neglect regular medical checkups, offering free health services is of paramount importance. My office has co-hosted several wellness events, including free prostate screening, a community health fair in Casino Corridor Park, and recently a mental health workshop. And this weekend, my office will be offering free flu and COVID booster shots. So actually, you could call my office right now and sign up for that. I haven't gotten it yet. And that in addition to securing thousands of PPEs and COVID test kits that were distributed across the district over the past year. At two very popular events over the summer, my office partnered with the Department of Environmental Protection to hand out 200 rain barrels, and in spring, we'll be distributing inflatable dams to help mitigate flooding issues experienced by many homeowners. And also understand not everyone could get to our office in downtown Flushing. So we also have hosted mobile office hours across the district, setting up libraries in your area. We will also be holding more in the near future, so keep an eye out. One of the major challenges that we faced was when tragedy struck our district. On the morning of March 17th, a 5-alarm fire tore through the building of Main Street. Thankfully, no lives were lost, but approximately 20 small businesses were destroyed. Even before the fire was fully extinguished, I was looking for ways to assist our local business owners who lost everything. I organized a small business recovery meeting that was held right here at Glow Community Center, just days after the fire. Representatives from the Department of Small Business Services, Department of Buildings, Office of Emergency Management, FDNY, State Department of Financial Services, and Small Business Development Center were on hand to share resources and assistance available to the impacted business owners. Together with the Asian American for Equality, we were able to create a $1 million fund to provide low-interest loans to those impacted to get back on their feet. Business community regarding the impacts from the creation of the Main Street busway that restricted cars from driving through the heart of Flushing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I invited the Department of Transportation Commissioner, Yaldanis Rodriguez, to visit Flushing and see firsthand the many transportation issues facing our community. We discussed a number of my concerns, including the economic hardships that the Main Street busway was having on our small business owners. At my request and after nonstop negotiations, DOT agreed to reduce the hours of operation from 24 hours a day to 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., allowing people who drive the opportunity to go to our local businesses. This is a major step forward for our small businesses. Another major challenge was the closure of Flushing Library in March of 2020. We thought it would be a short-term loss for our community. Instead, it remained closed for over 2 years, a combination of necessary repairs and COVID. As soon as I took office, I pressured the Queens Public Library to find a solution that would allow for the necessary repairs to be made, but also allow the public back into one of the busiest library branches in the entire country. Working with QPL leaders, we arrived at a plan for the work to proceed while still inviting libraries back into the center of community life right here in Flushing. When residents of an 82-unit building at NYCHA Bland houses lost their gas service at the beginning of May, they reached out to our office for help. And after a few months passed, residents grew increasingly frustrated, cooking on hot plates. And I continued during these months to press NYCHA for a timeline to get the gas service restored. Unable to get a firm answer, at the beginning of October, I invited my fellow elected officials to a rally with residents to say enough is enough, and call on NYCHA to finally do right by these rent-paying tenants and restore their gas service. And a little public pressure worked. 2 days later, NYCHA reps met with residents to discuss a timeline for their work, and I'm happy to say that service was restored the day before Thanksgiving. Just before I was elected to office in 2021, severe flooding around Casino Park not only caused extensive property damage, it tragically took the lives of Hong Sheng Lang, his wife, Ah Hua Sheng, and their daughter, Ling Lang. a family of 3 who were unable to escape as water rushed into the basement apartments on Peck Avenue. On September 13th, we were reminded of this tragedy event when a sudden heavy downpour once again overwhelmed the sewer system and caused flooding around Casino Park. Thankfully, while no lives were lost this time, I visited the exhausted Park Avenue residents who were once again draining water from their basements and drying out their belongings. It is clear that as climate change brings more frequent and powerful storms, a long-term solution is needed. I convened a town hall of the Department of Environmental Protection to share their plans for mitigating the flooding with residents and homeowners who live around Casino Park. There is not going to be an easy solution, and we have to address the problem from a variety of different angles. That includes not only sewer upgrades and maintenance, but also new green infrastructure and even potentially buying out homeowners whose properties are repeated subject to life-threatening flooding. And I do pledge to keep on working until our neighbors do not have to worry about losing property or potentially their lives whenever the forecast calls for rain. As we continue to face major challenge today, one that hits particularly close to home for many of us, Flushing is currently in the midst of a public safety crisis, with crime increasing at one of the highest rates in New York City. I've been working closely with the NYPD throughout my tenure, and once a month I attend a precinct council meeting. I speak with our community affairs unit on a regular basis. And when the crime rates went up, I had a roundtable of NYPD and the borough president. One thing stood out: we do not have enough officers in the 109 precinct. We are one of the largest precincts geographically and a major commercial hub with a large amount of foot traffic and people buying goods. That attracts crime. And even, especially with the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes, public safety must be our #1 priority. And I tackle this from multiple angles. But this week, I wrote a letter to the mayor requesting more officers and resources to be assigned to the 109. Every elected official who represents this District 20 co-signed that letter. And I'll be working closely with the mayor's office to ensure that we get the resources we need to keep our families safe, that officers are able to respond in a timely manner, and that we see officers walking in our streets. I've spoken with many of you regarding a long-running issue in this district: sidewalk congestion. And I had numerous individuals whose wheelchairs, walkers, or strollers come to my office express their frustration with the congestion on our sidewalks. While we all understand the need to support and foster immigrant small businesses, the proliferation of vendors in Flushing has become a public safety issue. Sidewalks are blocked, sanitation issues are piling up, intersections are clogged, and it's becoming a struggle just to go to a grocery store. I work closely with the Department of Consumer and Workers' Protection and have spoken to Deputy Mayor Banks regarding these concerns. One thing that came out of this discussion was making inspection dates random. Previously, DCWP inspectors came the same day each week, and thanks to my recommendation, the inspections now are occurring on any weekday, and there has been a slight decrease in vending activities. Unfortunately, we know this isn't enough. And despite more than a year of outreach efforts by DCWP, our sidewalks continue to be blocked. In the new year, I will continue to push for more enforcement. One question I often get asked is, what is the biggest responsibility of a city council member? And that's a hard question to answer. City council members play a number of roles in our community, but one of these areas where I have the most influence is passing a city budget. In July, I helped pass my first budget as a member of the city council and was able to reinvest $14.1 million in taxpayers' dollars back into our district, including $2.1 million in discretionary funding and more than $12 million in capital funding to build our parks and to invest in our schools. Great, thank you. Where's the end? COVID-19 showed us the importance of our open green spaces, and when many of us were trapped at home, unable to go to places we love, our parks was the place where we escaped. Now, whether it's a senior couple walking through the park or a family in the playground, making sure our green spaces accessible and attractive for families was one of my top priorities in this year's budget cycle. I allocated funding for the beautification and maintenance of the Casino and Casino Corridor Park, where this year, along with Glow, I co-hosted a Bigger and Better Fall Festival, a popular annual event for our district families. Together with Speaker Adams, I also secured a $6.25 million allocation to create new paths connecting the Northside Casino Park and the Casino Park Velodrome. This path will join with a new one in Casino Corridor Park that will finally improve the connection between downtown Flushing and Casino Park. And this is all part of an Eastern Queens Greenway, which will eventually connect all of our parks from Flushing Meadows to the Joe Michaels Mile in Bayside. Funding like this is what allows the Department of Parks to officially break ground on a $6.6 million project for a complete reconstruction of Maple Playground. The renovations will include the addition of 2 ping pong tables, the first one to be installed in a public park in Flushing. And later this year, Parks will also break ground on a reconstruction at the Bland Playground on 40th Avenue. I was able to also host 2 movies under the STAR event, which welcome families to spread a picnic blanket, grab some popcorn, and watch a movie in local park. This includes a Halloween night in Casino Corridor Park, which we hope will be an annual tradition. The budget also delivered for our vibrant senior citizen community here, right here in Flushing, with over $200,000 secured for senior centers and programs. This includes $19,000 for the Benjamin Rosendahl Prince Street Senior Center for technology and health classes, as well as to provide transportation services for their members. It also has $48,000 for the Chinese American Planning Council and self-help community services to create virtual centers so our homebound seniors can stay connected. In late spring, I had the honor of attending elementary school, middle school, and high school graduation ceremonies across the district. Seeing these students move on to a next chapter in their lives made me even more thankful for their hard work and the dedication of educators here in School District 25. And it's no accident that schools in this district are some of the most sought after in the city. And I know we have a rep from Superintendent Domingo's office here, so thank you for being here today. Thank you for your hard work. This includes Francis Lewis High School, which is the most applied to high school in the entire city, and one of the 2 largest in the 5 boroughs. But our school needs help. They need increased funding, given their increased enrollment, and we need more programming for students. This year, we opened a new annex at Francis Lewis High School to alleviate the overcrowding. Believing in the holistic well-being of children, I partnered with the Speaker and Queensborough President and secured $1.5 million for the reconstruction of Levitt's Field, the baseball field at Flushing High School, and I look forward to attending the games soon. In this budget, I was also able to secure a top capital priority of every principal of nearly all the schools in the district, including a total of $650,000 for auditorium upgrades at PS 163, PS 20, and East-West School of International Studies. I also allocated a total of $533,000 for new laptops and other technology upgrades at PS 162, PS 24, PS 241, PS 242, and PS 120. And I'm proud to secure $1 million to remodel the cafeteria at PS 177 to better serve students with autism. At many of these graduation ceremonies, I always make it a point to stress the importance of being involved in your local communities and giving back. And to that end, I allocated nearly $170,000 for after-school and community programs for our children, including $14,000 for the Young Adult Service Program run by the Korean Community Services. This program makes youth with a wide variety of opportunities to learn and develop through volunteering. Also allocated $28,500 to support the Flushing YMCA team programming, including leadership development and civic engagement. I started my speech by mentioning the change we've seen in Flushing as we welcome a growing culture and arts community. Flushing is fortunate to have so many quality cultural institutions in the neighborhood. And this budget includes nearly $350,000 for organizations like Flushing Town Hall, Queens Botanical Garden, and the Lewis Latimer House Museum to conduct cultural programming in our schools. And I know how important the Queens Botanical Garden is in our community. Not only is it an open space for respite and recreation, but it's a valuable space for teaching children and adults about gardening and sustainability. So the budget also includes $85,000 to support educational programming in the garden and a funding of $1.2 million to the pavilion to provide beautifying the gardens. Domestic violence is an issue in the Asian American community, but one we are often ashamed to discuss openly. And before I entered politics and in city council, I was an attorney who worked with domestic violence survivors. I saw the brutal effects of domestic violence on the lives of women and other survivors. That's why I'm particularly proud of the funding secured for the organizations doing incredible work on the ground, helping survivors each and every day. I allocated over $150,000 for organizations and programs that aid survivors of domestic violence, including $90,000 for Garner Hope, an organization based right here in Flushing. Not only does incredible work with domestic violence survivors, but it's also one of the few organizations in the city that aids victims of human trafficking. The budget also includes $82,000 and $500,000 for the Korean American Family Service Center for its domestic violence program, including $10,000 for the Rainbow House Emergency Shelter, which provides critical services for victims of domestic violence. But we still have much more work to do to make sure that victims know they can get out of these often deadly situations. So this year I took part in the 25th Annual Silent March Against Domestic Violence to call attention to this issue, as well as send a message to survivors that support they need is out there. Flushing is the busiest bus to train transfer point in the entire New York City. Main Street and Roosevelt Avenue is the third busiest intersection in New York, behind Times Square and Union Square. The tens of thousands of people passing through Flushing every day makes for vibrant streets, but also makes for keeping those streets clean an immense challenge. And in this budget, I was able to secure $136,000 for the Flushing bid for its graffiti removal and street cleaning efforts, in addition to services already provided by Department of Transportation. And one of my top priorities was securing more funding for sanitation services, especially for litter basket pickups. And through that advocacy, the City Council allocated funding for litter basket pickups 6 days a week across the city. But more can be done. I allocated additional $134,000 to fund mobile litter patrols to target illegal dumping sites throughout District 20. Additionally, in this winter, they will remove snow and ice from the LIRR overpass from 149th Street to Union Street, an issue that I call attention to the campaign trail, and that has plagued Flushing for decades. By bringing resources back to the district is just one of my responsibilities as your city council representatives. My experience growing up as a daughter of 2 Asian parents with limited English proficiency has radically shaped my priorities as a city council member. My parents struggled with the language, and even as a child, it fell on me to interpret for them as they communicate with the government or even their doctor. And that didn't end when I entered adulthood. And the pandemic highlighted the struggle for my family and many others right here in this district. And by the end of the year, I'm slated to pass 9 pieces of legislation into law, which would mean I have among the highest number of bills passed into law in the entire New York City Council. Of the 5 bills already passed this year, many of them are focusing on improving language access in the city government for New Yorkers. The City Council recently passed 2 of my bills that require 311 to implement protocols to quickly identify the language of a caller who requires translation services, as well as report on the length of time it takes to be connected to a translator. And I'm hopeful that when they come up for a vote next week, the City Council will pass 2 more pieces of legislation I introduced. One bill required better outreach to small business owners who speak languages other than English. When a small business owner receives a fine, it can be a confusing process, even if your first language is English. My bill requires the agencies to translate a statement that advises business owners of their rights as they relate to city inspections, and require further clarification on the rights of business owners to request a translation of summons and how to request time to respond to that summons. This bill will ensure that small business owners aren't accidentally fined because they don't realize their right to request a translation. The Asian American community is the fastest growing ethnic population in New York City. According to the latest census, the Asian population here in Queens grew by 29% between 2010 and 2020. Expanding access to local government goes hand in hand with inspiring civic participation in our immigrant communities. I passed a bill to officially establish the Public Service Corps, which will recruit the best and the brightest college students for internships within city government at a time when our city agencies are experiencing unprecedented vacancy rates. And we can no longer wait for talent to come to us. And throughout the Public Service Corps, we can identify and develop the people that will become the future leaders of America. I have always stated New York City, to truly serve all its communities, we need to stop relying on third-party remote interpretive services. We need to start recruiting for a talented New York City pool and hire more bilingual speakers who not only speak the language but understand our diverse culture. I will continue to fight in City Council to ensure that language will not be a barrier for accessing the city resources and services that every city residents deserve. Thus, in the coming months, I plan to invite representatives from the Department of Citywide Administrative Services Flushing and meet directly with residents and share the many job opportunities available in city government and how to apply for them. This year, I also passed a bill that will redesign the ballots for all New York City residents in next year's primary election. Throughout my time in government, I have heard from city residents that the ballot is unclear. Translations are often misplaced, and the instructions are often confusing and conflicting. And my bill will change that. Ballots will now be simplified with clear markings that will ensure voters know what race they're currently voting in. Moreover, my bill will change the illustrations on the ballot to be clearer. Finally, ensures that Board of Elections lay out languages other than English in a manner that's clearer for LEP speakers. This year, I also introduced a resolution in support of a bill in Washington to make Lunar New Year a federally recognized holiday. Already, every AAPI member of the City Council signed on as a sponsor. Designating the day as a federal holiday would not only allow those who celebrate to spend time with family and friends, but it's also an important recognition of the growing importance of the Asian community in the United States, especially in light of the rise in anti-Asian hate crimes. And we have accomplished a lot in a short time, but I know there's still much to do. In my next year in office, I will continue to bridge the divide between our immigrant community and the government. Our next generation should always be our priority, and that's why schools will always be my top priority. This year, we successfully brought a gifted and talented program to PS 24, the only GNT program in City Council District 20. In the year ahead, I will continue to work with Chancellor Banks and the Department of Education to secure more gifted and talented classrooms for our students. Another top priority of mine is to build more affordable housing, with a focus on senior affordable housing. I'll be working closely with our community not-for-profit to secure more housing for our seniors so that they can age gracefully and with dignity in their own homes. I also spoken with developers from across New York City and made it clear. Flushing is open for business, but we also need housing. So as I negotiate with developers, I will have a particular focus ensuring that new buildings include affordable housing and public amenities. Keep your eye out in the year ahead for some major announcements. Our community has the largest Asian American population of any district in New York City, with over 70% of our residents identifying as Asian. So whether it's the arch on Northern Boulevard or lanterns on Main Street, I want our community to reflect our beautiful diversity. And I look forward to a continued conversation with all of you on how to best approach that. And when I arrived in this country at the age of 7, my parents were fleeing genocide, and I look forward to a brighter future with my brother and I. And through their hard work, I like to believe they accomplished that. And I want to ensure the same opportunities exist for anyone who has the drive and determination to achieve them. And I won't stop fighting as a city council representative to protect and preserve those opportunities. And I look out the crowd right now, I see so many dedicated and committed community leaders. And I know together we can meet any challenge that come before us. And none of this work would be possible without my team. So I want to thank Shane Miller right there, Kim Sun Kim, Alexander Hart, Dan Lin, she's right there, and also Lei Zhu. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today. And Sheen, oh my, see, look, and this is Sheen Wu, and it takes a whole family, it takes really a whole village to make this office work, and I really am thankful to all of you for giving me this opportunity. This girl who stepped off a plane when I was age 7, coming to America, really never thought I have an opportunity to stand in front of all of you today, giving you the speech of what has happened, what I've done this first year. And again, I thank you. I know my office thanks you. And here I'm thanking my office for all the great work they have done. So again, I really thank you for all your patience. And I look forward to having another conversation with you at the end of next year, letting you all know what's going on next year. So the most important thing is have a happy and healthy and safe holidays. And I know there's many events coming up, so I'll see you all there. Thank you again.